Hello everyone, I'm Supurplayur301 and welcome to episode 2 of our road to E3 2017, where we took a quick flight over to Redmond, Washington from Tiburon, Florida. And now we're going to discuss Microsoft, who has a lot of questions to answer, a lot of things they have to figure out, and a lot of problems they have to solve. Ignore that. So first, once again, let's go over what happened last year with Microsoft. Microsoft, for all intents and purposes, had a really good press conference last year. I think had it not been for Sony having the incredible press conference they had last year, they probably would have been looked at as the best press conference of 2017. But Sony then came out and they had the incredible, like suits and the live orchestra, and they figured out how to do the camera angles just right. And honestly, it was probably one of the best press conferences in years, to be honest. And I think had they not done that, Microsoft would have been probably given that crown because they were the best up to that point. They showed off a good number of games, of course. With the benefit of hindsight, we now know Scalebound was canceled, and we're still waiting to hear about not really one of the games. A lot of the games they talked about at this conference are already out. I mean, with the exception of like State of Decay 2, which we know is going to be out this year, and I think a few other games. Give me a second. I want to look at. Give me a second. I know you're hearing me type right now. Let me see. Talks about. Hold on a second. Okay. All right. Sorry, guys. I decided to do. I decided to look up stuff. Now instead of before. How you guys doing? Let me see. So, yeah, I mean, they didn't really talk about anything else particularly new. Like, I think the only big reveal that came out of that was State of Decay 2. They talked about We Happy Few, which is actually a really fun game. They talked about a lot of the games too, but I feel like E3 2017 is a little different than last year, because last year it was just another year. We knew that they were going to the Xbox One has leaked a few days before the conference, so we knew that it was going to be talked about. But it was just another year where you just discuss games, But now we're at a weird point where they have to not only talk about new games, but they also have to talk about a new console, And I like to look at the Scorpio not as I look at consoles now as taking on the Apple model of release. Instead of having a year with a new console and then no other new consoles for a while, I think we're gonna see every 2 or 3 years a new smaller jump. Think about it this way: when the iPhone 7 was announced, the iPhone 6 got a price drop. The iPhone 5 pretty much got dropped from support by Apple, and then next year we got the 7S. They dropped kind of support for the 6, kept the 6S, but kind of dropped the 6. Then the 8, then they completely dropped anything related to the 6, just have the 7 and the 7S and the 8. And I think that's how console's going to be. Right now we're at Xbox One, Xbox One S, and Xbox Scorpio, or Project Scorpio. I really hope, if they called it Xbox Scorpio, that'd be so cool. Anyway, so when looking at it that way, it seems as if what'll happen is in about 2 or 3 more years, we'll get a sequel to the Scorpio, like the Scorpio S or whatever they're going to call it. The Xbox One X. No one knows what they're going to call it yet. Xbox One X would just be like the biggest troll of all time. I hope they do that. But there'll be a sequel. And then that's when they'll cut support for the original Xbox One. Maybe keep the Xbox One S, but I think they'll probably drop them both, since architecturally they're not really much different aside from a slight clock boost. CPU clock boost and GPU clock boost. I think that might be the only thing differing the Xbox One and One S. So I think they'll announce a new system. You'll see like lowered support and really not, they'll start to drop that whole policy. And I think PlayStation's gonna do the same thing. They're gonna drop the whole, you have to develop for the original Xbox or the original PS4. I'm not thinking this is just Xbox, this is a PlayStation thing too, especially with the rumors about the PlayStation 5, which we'll get to, don't worry, we'll get to soon. But so I think we'll get this like Xbox Project Scorpio sequel, and then they'll kind of drop the price for the regular Scorpio but still support it, and then the new Xbox Scorpio whatever will be the new thing, and then they'll probably slowly but surely drop support for the original Xbox Ones and Xbox One S. But I mean, once again, there are three big problems that Xbox has to address. One is price, and I see it as going one of two ways. If they think they can still be competitive in this generation, then they're going to price it at $400. They don't plan to make any money back. They plan to lose a lot of money on it, but they'll put it at $400 if they want to be competitive. If they're going to stand by their notion that this is a pro machine, that this is a premium console, then it's going to be priced at $500, or probably more likely even $600. It's going to be priced more at the rate that you have to be a true Xbox fan or someone who wants the best gaming quality you can get without having to build your own or buy a PC in order to get it. And I can go into for hours as to why I think that there's definitely a reason why you can just go with console instead of PC if you want the best graphics, because you know, first thing people love to say is all you gotta do is buy a PC and you can get 4K graphics anytime you want. But there's so much more work that goes into getting a PC game optimized than a console. That's the best thing about a console. A console is one platform, so you know it's gonna work properly. Sorry, this is not a tangent. Let's get back. So the number one problem is price. They have to decide, do they want it to be priced effectively? Because think about it, if you're getting like such a huge boost in power and performance over the PlayStation 4 Pro at the same price, why wouldn't you buy the Xbox? Why wouldn't you buy Scorpio? But if you're getting more performance, you know, you can easily justify why it needs to be more expensive. But how high do you make it? I mean, like I said, anything more than 600 and it's going to be poor, it's going to poorly sell. I'll still buy it, but I can see how that will turn off certain people, you know. And like they've always compared it to the Xbox One Elite controller, where it is a pro version of the console. It is a extra version. You know, you have to really want it to get it. Second thing they have to worry about are games. Okay, now you can have the best looking third-party games in the world, and believe me, if that's your thing, then the Scorpio is probably what you're going to buy, because you're probably going to see the best version of Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty and all these third-party games that come out every year. You're going to see the best version of those games come on at Scorpio, just based on the fact that it's more powerful. You know, I don't think that should come as a surprise. I mean, if you have more power, the game's going to perform better. So what am I trying to say here? With that being said, the problem comes to first party games. Like I said, you can have the best third party games, but if you don't have anything exclusive, then why would I spend the extra money, you know? And what do they have? Like I said, State of Decay 2, Cuphead, State of Decay 2, Cuphead, Sea of Thieves, Crackdown 3, and more. But honestly, that's the biggest problem that Xbox is having right now. The biggest problem is they don't have the library that Sony and Nintendo have. I mean, Sony and Nintendo can reach into a hat and like pull out a random name of a game and say, all right, we're gonna reboot this, and people be like, oh snap. But Nintendo doesn't really have that much history. And so you see that Phil Spencer over the past few years on his Twitter page, he's been visiting Japan and a lot of studios trying to bring titles exclusively to the Xbox, because right now they're lacking in a lot of places. I mean, they don't have an RPG, you know, they just don't have one. They don't have an open world game, you know. Every other company has one. I mean, Nintendo has Breath of the Wild, Sony has Uncharted, which I know people are gonna say isn't really an open world game, but you know what I mean, you know. But Nintendo doesn't have that. You know, they need something. They need a killer app. They need a game, because Halo and Gears of War just aren't it anymore. I mean, I'm pretty sure when Halo 6 comes out, more than likely next year, it's going to turn heads and it's going to be very good. I have no doubts about that. But does Halo really sell the way it used to? That's the question. Is it really going to be that game that gets people to finally say, okay, now there's a reason to pick up Scorpio? That's the question that you have to figure out, or that Nintendo has to figure out. Sorry, a little sick again. Well, not really sick. It's something, I don't know. So that's the second. They need games, and I hope that they at E3 they definitely talk about some games. You know, they need to surprise us with some new stuff we didn't know, and they need to be exclusives. They need to be games that comes to just their console. You know, I mean, think about it. Rise of the Tomb Raider came exclusive to the Xbox One, and it should have been a big deal, and yet it didn't sell very well. Whether that's because it was on the Xbox One, which that's probably why, or if there's something else going on behind the scenes we just don't know about. We don't know. We just have to, you know, we can only speculate. So the first thing they have to worry about is price. The second thing they need to worry about is games. And the third thing they need to worry about is marketing, which so far they've done a very good job of. You know, the fact that they gave the information to Digital Foundry first instead of putting it out themselves is a different thing that most companies don't do. Most companies like to keep those kind of messages, you know, in the loop. They want to make sure they're the ones who spread the narrative. They're the ones who write the script. They're the ones who make sure that what they want to be shown is shown. And they gave it to them, and Digital Foundry could have said anything. They could have said just about anything about this console. I mean, yes, they did say lots of positives, but they let them write the narrative on how it was shown, which was very courageous, and I think it's a sign of what's to come. But they honestly need to figure out who they're marketing this console towards, you know, because they've gone back and forth. Okay, they need to take lessons from the PlayStation 4 Pro. One, they need to definitely take the lesson of 1080p, because there's a lot, because the PlayStation 4 Pro did not do a good job of saying having a 1080p TV will still be worth it. You know, they didn't do a good job at that. And I think Scorpio needs to pick up the slack there, because they put all this type in, HDR and 4K and 4K and HDR, and then all of a sudden, oh, and by the way, if you have a 1080p TV, stuff will look a little better. You know, they kind of just tag that on. And I think Xbox can learn from that and try to, I think this was the best thing they could have done, was wait a year to put their system out, because not only did it mean they could put the best technology they want that they could possibly get into the system, but it also meant that they now could look and see how the Pro has reacted to the market. What did they do right? What did they do wrong? Of course, the one thing they didn't get was sales numbers, because Sony didn't put those out. They put out PlayStation 4 sales numbers. They said they sold 60 million, but we don't know how many of those are Pro models. You know, are they ahead of schedule? Are they, at expectations, below expectations, above expectations? We don't know, because we don't have any solid numbers specifically for the Pro right now. So pretty much, but everything else Microsoft can adjust to. You know, okay, what in their campaign did they say that helped, but things they didn't say that did, things they could have said, things that could have helped them learn things. You know, there's so many questions that are left. Oh man, there's so many questions that they were able to answer because they waited, and they could see, okay, so this is what they did right, this is what they did wrong. And I think that's going to be the key to the success of the Scorpio. Now, I keep talking about the Scorpio. Here's the problem. They also have to show games, you know. They have to, and what games are they going to show? You know, like I said, we already know some games that will be there. We know State of Decay 3 is going to be there. We know Crackdown 3 is going to be there. State of Decay 3, State of Decay 2 is going to be there. We know Crackdown 3 is going to be there. We know Sea of Thieves is going to be there. 99% positive there's going to be a new Forza game there. Probably Forza Motorsport 7, because Forza Horizon 3 came out last year. And they put them on increments. One year they have Horizon, the next year they have Motorsport. So, but next to that, we don't know. I mean, of course they're going to have, third-party games, probably Battlefield 1, DLC, and other stuff. And they'll probably also show off certain maybe games that have already come out that are going to be enhanced because of Scorpio. Like, take Final Fantasy 15 for example. Final Fantasy 15 got a boost on a PlayStation 4 Pro. My question now is, are they going to come back this year and show, hey, here's what we were able to do with Scorpio? You know, what third-party games are they going to show off? Are they going to show off really, really old games, like how PlayStation 4 Pro came out of nowhere and said, hey, Shadow of Mordor? And people were like, Shadow of Mordor? It was like a 2-3-year-old game. They were just showing, hey, we made the graphics look a little better. Are they going to show more recent games? Are they going to show, because Final Fantasy 15 is still a relevant game. It still has DLC coming. There's DLC coming out in a couple months, I think. I think it comes out in June, maybe. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember. But you know, there's a lot of third party games they could come out and show and say, hey, here's what, you know, these companies are doing with this extra power. And of course, they're probably going to show games like Halo and Forza Horizon 3 and other titles that will be enhanced in the future, you know, in the near future on the system, you know. But like I said, they have to bring the games. Honestly, they've shown enough of the console at this point. All we need to know is what it looks like, what the price is, and another haunting question is the UI. There's been rumors that they're building a new user interface specifically for the Scorpio that's different from the Xbox One's current interface. So if that's real, I want to see what it looks like. But honestly, the only things they absolutely have to show is the actual console and the price when it comes to Scorpio. Pretty much everything else could just be games. So with all that being said, it's time for me to list my 3 bold predictions for the system. Now, bold prediction number 1, and this is very bold. It's actually a 2-part prediction. One, it's about the Scorpio though. Part 1 of this prediction is that the Scorpio will be $500. Now I know $500. I know I just said $600 is more realistic, but I think the I think Xbox is still going to try to be somewhat competitive, just a little competitive, and so I feel like 500 makes it. 400 just seems like they're not going to make any money back off the system from what we know is in it. 600 seems like they'll make a bunch of money back, but will they really sell as many? 500 seems like a sweet spot where you're telling people, yes, you're spending an extra $100, but look at the improvements you're getting. Look at how you know, these third-party games will look on your 4K TV. Okay, so I feel like, and then part 2, on the Xbox Scorpio dev kit, there is a frames per second counter on the system. And my bold prediction for part 2 of that my first one, is that will be included on the commercial version of the system. Now I know that sounds stupid, because it is stupid, and there's really no point of having it, but I still think it would be a great addition, just something small, and just to shoot home, yes, this is how good this system is. Look at how that number never changes, how it's always 60 frames per second. Sometimes it dips, but look how consistent that number is. That would be a really cool thing to include. But once again, it probably won't happen, but it's a bold prediction, so it's supposed to be crazy. All right. Number 2, we will have 2 new IPs announced at this. No, 2's not good enough. 3 new IPs will be announced at this press conference, one of which will be from a Japanese game developer. Okay, Phil Spencer has made it a goal of his to try to get Japanese RPGs and Japanese games onto the Xbox, which it severely lacks. The only ones it gets are third-party ones like Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts 3 when it releases, and I'm assuming Final Fantasy 7 Remake will probably come to the Xbox One at some point in the future after it releases, but that's just a guess. I think we're going to get 3 new IPs, one of which will be from a Japanese game developer. And then, my third prediction, there will be a new hardware announcement at this press conference other than Scorpio. Whether it be a VR headset, maybe a new controller, I think there's going to be a new something hardware announced. Because I feel like VR is something they're not trying to talk about right now, but I think they're going to make it, if not a huge part of their press conference, they're going to definitely devote time to it. And I think there's a chance of us getting like because if you've heard Windows holographic, well, Windows VR, I don't know what they're calling it now, but they're trying to pioneer low-cost VR. And so I think what we're going to see is an announcement of the first like gaming-related VR headset, but one that's like really affordable, like around $300, $350, which is unprecedented. I mean, right now the cheapest one is $500. So, you know, for them, if they came out and they said, hey, we're working with Acer or Asus or Lenovo or whoever on this VR headset that's specifically tailored for gaming, and it's going to be on Scorpio, it's going to run perfectly on Scorpio and all this good stuff. And so I think we're going to see, or maybe Scorpio will launch with a new version of the Xbox controller. You know, maybe it'll launch with an Elite controller, or come with an Elite controller, or maybe a new redesigned controller of some kind. I think there's going to be new hardware other than just the system really announced at this thing. So, bold prediction number 1: the system will be $500 and will include the FPS counter LCD on the commercial version of the system that's on the dev kit. If you don't know what I'm saying, go look at the Xbox One dev kit. You'll see what I'm saying. Bold prediction number 2: 3 new IPs. Now, new IPs. Let me make sure I'm very clear about this. New IPs, not older remasters of not older games. I'm talking 100% genuine new games, one of which will be from a Japanese developer. And the third bold prediction is that we'll see an additional new hardware announcement at this event other than the Scorpio's reveal. So that's what I'm thinking. You know, I think what Xbox has to do, and what do they have to do to be the best in show? Well, they have to not devote 80% of the press conference to Scorpio. Don't spend 30 minutes talking about the system and, you know, what's gonna come in the box. Like, take like the first 5 or 10 minutes and then devote the rest of the time to gaming. Show us what the system can do. Show us what games now will look like when the system comes out, but also show us what new things are happening because of Scorpio. And honestly, get your camera angles right, because boy oh boy, if you take nothing else from PlayStation from last year's press conference, take the way they did cameras, where instead of them leaving the game to show us the audience, they set it up where you had 4 different camera angles on the screen at one time, where it showed the game, it showed the person playing the game, it showed the audience, and it showed the band playing the live orchestra. So do it that way. Have 2 cameras, one that shows the game, one that shows the crowd and the rest of the room, things of that nature, if you want to do it that way, because you guys love to just leave the game for some reason when you're live streaming. But that's gonna be it, everyone. Thanks for listening. Hope to see you next week for episode 3, where we're gonna be flying from Redmond back across the country, because we don't make sense when we fly, all the way to Bethesda, Maryland, where we're going to try to help Bethesda get over last year's conservative, how conservative you say this, rocky press conference. So thanks for listening, and this is Supurplayur301 signing out. Thank you so much for listening in, guys. This was a lot of fun to make. These are actually a lot of fun because I'm so excited for E3. You know, it's the one time where I take off from work and I just relax and have fun looking at all the new games and things coming up. You know, video games are my passion, so it's pretty much the joy of the year for me. But I hope you enjoyed it. We're gonna be next week. We're gonna be doing Bethesda. Also, the PC gaming show was announced, and for some reason I completely and totally forgot about the PC gaming show, and it was announced like the morning I recorded this. So I'm gonna probably do 2 in a week. Probably the week I do Sony, which will be not next week, but the week after that I'll probably do 2 that week, one on the PC gaming show and then one on PlayStation. But thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this one, maybe you missed the first episode, so maybe you want to tune into that, and maybe you'd like to see Battlefield 1, because I have that too if you want to watch. But thanks for tuning in. This is Supurplayur301. Until next time, signing off.